My name is Kevin Zraly, and we start on time. And whatever else I said before is now.
You were warming up.
Well, I was warming up.
He was warming up. Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend too much time warming up here right now, because these guys are going to warm you up and make you laugh and make you think about a lot of different things. Basically, I'm going to set a premise. That's all I'm going to do here right now, and introduce my esteemed colleagues here who will take the show away from me. That's why I'm getting everything in now. The premise is quite simple. And you can agree or disagree, and you guys can agree or disagree as well. The premise is quite simple, whether it comes to Italian wines, whether it comes to, oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. You know, when I'm doing the wine book, I just handed in the 31st edition last week. You know, to do France is easy. Bordeaux hasn't changed. Burgundy, I mean, you get better producers or different producers or whatever, vintages, da-da-da-da-da, a couple little sidebars there and there. Spain, yeah, there's a few changes in Spain that are becoming really, really important in different areas. France, you could say the Languedoc area maybe, but the biggest chapter that I got to work on when it comes to Europe is Italy, because as they just keep saying, it just keeps changing and changing and changing. So Italy and California are my two biggest chapters I have to go to in my book every year to check it out. Here's my premise. We, as Americans, drink 70% of what we drink is American wine, and we do it by grape varietal. So I'm going to start with grape varieties, and you know the other grape varieties we're talking about, as they think they have identified, what was it, 500 almost DNA grape varieties in Italy. I'm going to break it down, and they kept on talking today in the breakfast about bring it back to basics, simplicity. 6 grapes in the world. That's what I'm going to call it, 6 grapes, and then we're going to play off of that, I hope, of the Italian grapes and where they fit into those 6 grapes. So here are my 6 grapes in the world. 1, Riesling. You've all had Riesling, is that correct? I'm preaching to the choir here right now. By the way, what I do is education for consumers. I'm a consumer-driven, not trade-driven. So this is all going to be, for me, consumer-driven. And I have an approach to life. If you can't say, you can't buy it. Everybody say Riesling. And remember, you're being taped. Just keep that in mind. All right? And that man back there can see your smile and all that kind of stuff and hear you. So we'll try it one more time. That will be second take. Ready? Everybody say Riesling. Riesling. See what a good group you are. Next grape is Sauvignon Blanc. Say Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc. And what's the white grape I'm missing? Everybody say Chardonnay. And I say to my students and by the way, I said it's consumer-driven. My wine school is 90% consumers. Very highly educated. 20% of them have medical degrees, to give you an idea, and they still need this, what I'm doing here right now. They still need to go back to basics. So I say if you know Riesling, and you know Sauvignon Blanc, and you know Chardonnay, you know 90% of all quality white wines made in the world. That's my premise. And is there a difference in style between a Riesling, a Sauvignon Blanc, and a Chardonnay? Help me. Come on, this is the choir out there, yes or no? Have you all had a Riesling? Yes? Sauvignon Blanc, yes? Have you had a Chardonnay? Have you blended them together ever? It was an emergency situation. You had to blend them together because you needed some more wine. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been with me. What's old? Matter of fact, when I started in New York City, there were only 2 sommeliers. 2. Master of Sommelier didn't exist in the United States. Master of Wine didn't exist in the United States. There were 2 sommeliers, me and some guy uptown at some Italian restaurant who was 80 years old, who was a retired waiter, so they gave him a testament. Things have changed, is that correct? So what's Riesling, what's Sauvignon Blanc, what's Chardonnay? I don't have time to tell you, you already know, but if I put a glass of skim milk, a glass of whole milk, and a glass of heavy cream in front of you right now, would you be able to see the difference in color between skim milk, whole milk, and heavy cream, yes or no? Yes. Would you be able to smell the difference? I'm not sure, lactic acid, da-da-da-da-da, but here's the key to the element, what I'd like to talk about today, is texture. Would you be able to feel the texture between skim milk, whole milk, and heavy cream? And my premise again is Riesling is skim milk around the world. Sauvignon Blanc is whole milk, and Chardonnay is heavy cream. So when we start talking about Italian white wines, where do they fit in? Are they skim milk? Are they whole milk? Are they heavy cream? And why do I do that? Because that's where I'm starting with the food part, the texture part. That's where I start. We'll find out where these guys go as well. Then I do the red grapes. Red grapes for me is, by the way, if you know those white grapes, I said 90%, but this is 70%. Pinot Noir. Everybody say Pinot Noir? Everybody say Merlot? What grape am I missing? Cabernet Sauvignon. Now, of course, these are international grapes. We're not talking specifically about Italian grapes, but of course they're grown in Italy as well. So what am I saying? Pinot Noir. What do you think it is? Skim milk or heavy cream? Skim milk. Merlot is whole milk. Cabernet Sauvignon is heavy cream. Okay, so we take it from a basis that we got different styles, we got different weights, we got different body, and how does that all relate? So, Charlie, this is Charlie. Everybody say hello, Charlie.
Good morning.
Charlie actually, he's taking time off from his film. Actually, what was the name of the last film you just did, the last one?
It's called The Duel of Wine, and it's an Italian movie between two sommeliers and a young guy who wants to kidnap my wife. It's a
I
great
told
movie.
you this was
Great
going to be
comedy.
good.
The Duel of Wine movie.com, you can go there, you can check. It's a movie going around the world right now. And
It's
that's it.
everywhere, and it's also going to be on Broadway
We hope.
with Hamilton and The Duel. Get it? Get it? That whole thing?
The Duel.
Did anybody see the news last night? Actually, they were talking about people being kidnapped. There's a big thing right now to get yourself kidnapped. I'm not joking. They have this whole thing that's like the new thrill. People want to be kidnapped. So it fits right in. I'm sure you had something to do with it.
Oh, a lot.
But the first film,
The first film is El Camino del Vino, The Ways of Wine, actually going around the world still after 5 years, and it's about Malbec, a guy who lost his palate. Interesting, touching story, and I hope you can watch it because it's a wonderful story about an immigrant of the grape.
so you actually just do things on film, right? I mean, what else do you do? You're going to be today officially Italian, correct?
I'm
But you're not
officially
officially.
Italian on the wine side, but I will be Southern American in the cuisine side for you.
Thank you so
We're going to
much.
speak a lot about the Gulf of Mexico food.
And Victor.
Yes.
Victor, I normally see Victor, if you haven't seen him here before, with a camera. We got a famous actor. Now we have a famous producer here. And Victor, tell us a little bit about the show.
So I have a show on Create TV, public television, nationwide. You can see it here on 11, 21, 13, or Create TV, cable station, Eat, Drink Italy with Vic Rallo. And I think it's one of the only food programs that's filmed solely in Italy still. Lydia used to do her show solely in Italy, and I think now it's Lydia in America, so most of her stuff is done here. So ours is all filmed in Italy.
When is the next show coming out?
Season 3 just finished up, so reruns are on nationwide, and we'll be back in Italy May, June to film season 4.
Beyond that, though, and the most important thing we're going to talk about today, I know you enjoy eating. Is that correct, Charlie?
A lot.
Okay. And Victor is a chef. This is very, very important because I think that you have a chef on board up here right now because we are talking about wine and food and what kind of sauces you're going to do. Because, again, sauce is going to play into it. I don't care what it is. But tell them about your culinary background and your restaurants.
So I have 2 restaurants in New Jersey, close to the Jersey Shore. One's called Undici Taverna Rustica. It's high-end Italian. And then we have an osteria called Birra Vino, beer and wine. And we're just getting ready to open a new restaurant with a fellow from Brooklyn, New York. He's one of the best barbecue guys in the country, Hometown Barbecue, Billy Durney. And Billy and I are opening an American barbecue restaurant. And how apropos today, American food and how it pairs with Italian wine. So American barbecue coming to you at the Jersey Shore very shortly, in about a month.
Excellent.
A round of applause for my panel members here right now. Again, this is sort of like a really open forum. I'm still waiting for a mic. Is that coming yet, my microphone? So it's in Italy right now. The microphone is in Italy. It should be here soon, okay? It's being shipped over. What's happening, Francesca? It's there? It's not coming. Oh, it's not coming. Okay. Oh, okay. So I got to stand behind. You know what? And I got to stand behind this thing because you're going to film me. You can't get me over here. You can't hear me. No. Stuck. I believe in moving around. Anyhow, the first question I have, in all honesty, and before I go to these guys, can I ask you guys this? You know what Italian? Oh, by the way, I think I saw something called American cuisine. Well, that's the worst place to start off because cuisine is a French word. Is that correct? So American cuisine doesn't work for me. American cooking works for me, but cuisine doesn't work. Are we copying other people? From the audience, let's get the audience participation in right away. And that's what if I had a microphone, I'd come over. So you're going to have to shout it out. Can anybody tell me what American cooking is? Not all at once. Do not bombard me with all of your knowledge of cooking and wine. Anybody? What's that? Eclectic. All right. That's a good way of looking at it. I mean, do you all know what Italian cooking is? I mean, can you actually, if you really start thinking about it, it's really easy, and that's all they've been talking about over the last 2 days here right now, is cooking, Italian cooking, etc. French, can you describe a French restaurant? Actually, Windows in the World, we actually only had European chefs up until after the bombing. The bombing was in 1993, and we reopened. Windows was actually closed for 3 years. We opened in 96 with a French staff. Again, not a good idea. In my opinion, we're an American restaurant. And finally, we got a chef who was an American, an Italian-American, Michael LaMonaco, who now owns Porterhouse, if you're not doing anything tonight, in the Time Warner Center. But an American chef, and we had to convince the guy who owned the restaurant, whose name was Joe Baum, who was one of the great restaurateurs of all time. He opened the Four Seasons in 1959, and so many other, Rainbow Room. We redid the Rainbow Room, Windows in the World, the first time and the second time, and he really didn't even know what American cooking was. Okay? Even working with James Beard and other people. And of course, I had to show him, well, guess what? Union Square Cafe is where everybody's going. It's the #1 restaurant, and I would call that American cooking, whatever that means. I still haven't figured it out, whether it's eclectic or not. Or Gramercy Tavern here in New York City. I guess I would call them American restaurants. Another word, please? Regional. Okay. Well, we're going to go into that. Regional cooking. Is there a difference between northern and southern cooking, or southwest cooking, or Pacific Northwest? Are we able at this point in time to break up the United States in that way? So I got eclectic, I got regional, somebody else. Yes? Steak. Steakhouse is the classic American. All right, I want you to hear what anybody else. I'll take one more. Sandwiches. What a great lead-in, sandwiches. Oh, yes. What a great lead-in for Victor right now. Charlie, I said I was going to start with you, but Victor paid me $10. All right, first of all, you told me already what you weren't supposed to. What is your definition of American cooking?
Well, I think the Earl of Sandwich would be very proud today, because I think throughout America, we see everybody's in love with the sandwich. We walk, I've been walking around New York City. You see every menu in New York, every menu throughout the country has some form of sandwich on it. So I thought it would be kind of fun today, as we drank through these wines, to tell you about my favorite sandwiches and what I would eat with each of these wines, besides going into, the fancy sauce, the fancy steak, the fancy meat, which we could do that also, so we could do both. But
let me do this then. Let me pour the first wine.
Yes.
Okay? That means you don't drink it yet. That means you don't pick it up. You don't even look at it. Got it? Until I say pick it up and look at it, smell it, and taste it. And then we'll come back to Victor on that. So can we pour the rosé? It's coming up. I hope the camera got that sound. That's all I got to say right now. So while we're waiting for that, because I want to go one by one. You want to do one by one? Charlie, you gave me a list that was like 150 things so narrow it down. First of all, what's your definition of American cooking?
American cooking for me, actually being in part of James Beard House for many, many years, I have to say it's everything what the king, James Beard, and of course everybody knows the best cooking woman on TV, who was? Julia. I have to say I met Julia in her 92 years old party in Napa Valley, and it was like everything was coming to my heart, because I learned so much about what American cooking is all about, and translated what my ex-boss Drew Niporen used to do, and he still does here in New York City, download the European cuisine to the American taste. And could be a definition, a little bias here, because I worked for Drew Niporen for almost 8 years, and I have to say, what the guy does to us, for wine people, for chefs, I think is one of the unique things you can actually learn in New York City and throughout the country. I was lucky to work for him in the South in Florida, and I have to say the best download of Italian food and American food or French food you can have through someone who travels the world. I mean, we are global here. We understand, everybody's cuisine, and we do American food the best way we can.
Actually, if you don't know Drew, Tribeca Grill, you got nothing to do tonight? Downtown, Tribeca Grill.
Or Corton.
Or Corton, correct, if you have extra money. Tribeca Grill sounds much less expensive than Corton.
Oh, great.
sounds.
Great
Or
lunches. Great
Montrachet.
lunches for 20
Well, they
bucks.
can't go. They got to be here, Charlie.
Right.
But you had you want to go wine by wine, or you have some ideas of American cooking?
I have to say when I decide to I mean, thanks to everybody for being here. I really love the idea to show you, and Chef will probably understand better this in terms of what we learn in the South. I mean, going back to my history working in Italian restaurants, I probably got 10 or 15 names since San Juan, Puerto Rico, 1984. And I have to say, I was one of the guys as a wine guy that was supposed to make you travel through a grape and through the taste of the food, what is important in the country I am working. My background is from the cruise lines. I spent almost 10 years serving wines around the world. I started in Venice, and I ended up in Miami. And for a guy who actually understands Italian wine, I think it's always better to respect what the chef does in the kitchen and never being overwhelming or probably being selecting a wine that is much more than the food, because we all wine guys work for the chef. And for me, I have to say one of the things that I love to talk about today is the po' boy from New Orleans, or maybe the barbecue Texas pork ribs.
That's actually what I asked Victor. I said, "What's American cuisine and cooking?" Excuse me, and you said,
The only true American cuisine is American barbecue. I mean, it's
That's
historic.
true.
It has
true.
historic origins. I mean,
"Okay."
And when we talk about the po' boy in New Orleans, we talk about the French roots, of course, Louisiana, and why not the stone crabs in South Florida? We have a lot to say about that. And if you really like the Caribbean, why not a good suckling pig in Caja China with a good Brunello di Montalcino? We don't have the food, but we have the wine, I promise.
Yeah, we're not doing all Southern wines, by the way, just so you know, if you've taken a look at the list. We're venturing out. Obviously, with 20 regions, it's sometimes good to go back to basics. And the basics are the wines from Veneto, Piedmonte, Tuscany, etc. We do have one wine here from the South. But does everybody have wine number one? Raise your hand if you don't have number one. Did you pay the full amount? There was a charge at the door for the wine. The lecture's for free. The wine costs a little bit more. Actually, you made a statement. Well, I'm just going to wait a second on the wine. You made a statement that the chef rules. Actually, not always. When I started, it was the wine rules. As a matter of fact, do you remember chefs never wanted to come? Maybe some of you would remember this. I'm looking at the average age in here is about 32. Is that correct? 30? Something like 30, right? In here? Right. The front row is definitely 30 and under. Actually the chefs never came out of the kitchen. They never came out of the kitchen. Now you can't get them in the kitchen, okay? They're traveling the world or going to the Food Network or somewhere else. We had a restaurant at Windows in the World that was called The Cellar in the Sky. And The Cellar in the Sky was we started that back in the early days, 76, 77, and this is a long time ago, okay? So take a look at it, 40 years. And we had a 7-course meal and 5 different wines. And that's how we advertise it, not about the food. These are the 5 wines we're serving for the next 2 weeks. And we changed them. So I chose the wines, and then I went to the chef, and I sat down with the chef, and I said, here are the wines. Today, it's the opposite. Today, it's the chef does rule. Chef puts it out, and then the sommelier has got to figure out, what am I going to put with this? What are the ingredients here that are going into everything? I don't know how you feel about that.
I think when we speak about Italian wines, I think the base of Italian wines is acidity. And I think with that acidity, Italian wines are the most food-friendly wines in the world. I think historically and culturally, Italian wines should be on a table with food. They're not like their California counterparts or American wines. They're not cocktails. In Italy, a bottle of wine is on every table, and it's on every table for a reason. And this would be perfectly fine in Italy at 9:30 in the morning at breakfast. You can have a glass of wine. They have a piece of toast. Or lunchtime, there's not one wine, there's several wines, because each wine has an opportunity to shine with the right food. And Italians are great at that. I say the French are very good at that, the Mediterranean countries, the Spanish. But really in Italy, the heart and soul is wine and food together. So I think pairing Italian wines with American food isn't, as we call American food, however we define that, is a very easy job. And you have to step out of the box, because most people in this room know their audience better than I do, or Charlie, or Kevin. You know who you're serving. A quick story, two of my best wine experiences were I was in Trentino Alto Adige, way up in northern Italy, close to the Brenner Pass, and it's white wine country. And I was the guest of a winery, and the mom and dad cooked at a restaurant, and we're sitting around a table for dinner after we did a lovely tour and tasted the wines and walked through the vineyards. And we sat at the table, and there was a bottle of wine in the wine bucket. And they brought beautiful antipasti, local cheeses, speck, which is the smoked prosciutto from the area. And we sat, and I said, I wonder what's going to be in the bucket. And in the bucket was a bottle of red wine, slightly chilled, Schiava. So they served red wine with the antipasti, and they served their bigger, bolder white wines with the entree as we proceeded. So really that notion that white wine goes with, fish or light meats, and red wine goes with meats or, more hearty food. It's really pick the wine, decide if it's light-bodied, medium-bodied, full-bodied, and then pair it with what you're eating accordingly. White, red, rosé, sparkling. To me, that really doesn't matter anymore. Kind of step out of the box a bit.
What does Emerald say, by the way? What does Emerald say? Is Emerald saying anything anymore? What did Emerald used to say? Bam.
Bam.
He did say bam, that is correct. But that's not what I'm looking for right now. Anybody remember? Kick it up a notch? Kick it up a notch. That's all citrus. Add citrus to it. Hold, man, put it down. Put it down. No. Are you sorry that you just did that? By the way, I'm a basketball coach. I'm a football coach too, but I'm a basketball coach. I see everything. Peripheral vision. Now we may pick up the glass because of you.
Before we talk
Well,
about
they pick up the glass, they're going to start drinking it.
Before we talk bubbles, I get
Don't smell
a great anecdote. Actually, early morning, having a speck sandwich in Venice, and of course, after your cappuccino, a nice glass of prosecco and a shot of grappa before going. 7:30 in the morning. Let me tell you, is the best thing that you can do. It really gets you going.
I'll see what we can do. I'm going to hold off questions. I'll tell you why I'm going to hold off a question. You're going to be the first guy on.
It's not a question, it's a statement.
Go ahead.
We went to a producer one time and we were talking about food and wine pairing, and she said something incredibly intelligent. She said, it's never the food's fault.
Ouch.
I'm going to come back to that as well, but
Wow.
you know what? I can't control people when they have a glass of wine in their hand. How many people feel after this is the second day, this is no longer
that's
a
deep. That's
need,
deep.
but
That's
a
deep.
want? No, a want, but a need, whatever it is. The fact is, with a sparkling wine, wherever it's from, whether it's from Italy, whether it's from Spain, whether it's from France, I want it cold. I want it ice cold. So the first thing I'm going to look at is bubbles here. You got any bubbles in here? That helps. A little, and this is again the Charmat bulk process. It's not bottled fermented in the bottle, but I still think it's got some stuff going on here. The nose. And I saw somebody doing this, getting rid of all the bubbles, but that's not totally true. There's billions of them there, so we can let a few billion go. How does it smell? Talk to your neighbor. How many people do not like their neighbor that they're sitting next to right now and want to stay far away from them? Talk to your neighbor. Don't drink it, because I saw the guy in the back. I'm watching you in the back. You already spit it out. Anyhow, would you talk to your neighbor? What do you think of the nose? What do you think of the smell of the wine? Start thinking food, by the way. That's what we're here to do. Start thinking food. What do you smell? Grapes. This is good. This is a very astute group of people.
You're very close.
Right. Yeah, and anybody know what grape it is? Look at your technical sheets, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we give you technical sheets. Anybody want to check out the grape variety on there and help me out? Pinot Nero. Okay? And it's obviously it's a rosé. You're drinking the wine. I need to toast. That's why I'm waiting. Everybody click the glasses with the person next to you. It's supposed to be all about enjoyment. Ready? Give it a try. Sorry, guys. Oh, you already drank yours too. Oh, yeah, I know. You can't wait. You need to... Well, first taste of wine is a shock to the taste buds. It's absolutely positively the worst taste that you can give anybody. And do we do it in the restaurant business? We open it up and we hand you the cork, and what are you supposed to do with the cork? Yeah, right. What do you think the consumer thinks you're supposed to do with the cork? So 40 years later, I say the cork means nothing, never did and never will. But moving on, I want you to go back. Wait, not yet. I'm giving it 60 seconds, because I'm going to tell you what I got right away was acidity, which is exactly what you're talking about. And that does, in my opinion, low alcohol on sparkling wines, the acidity, really great with food, almost any kind of thing. But watch now, and I do this, and I'm sure you're all, you're professional people, but the fact is, I like to go back to the wine a second time. That first taste is terrible. So pick up the glass. How many people could not go back the first time? They thought it was tequila. And toast again. Always toast somebody. Toast the other person on the other side. Toast the person behind you. Toast somebody. You know? Yeah, it's a little far. It's a little far.
But we can get one.
All right? Give it a try. We're here for fun. Okay, so now, break down the wine. You're going to work with your neighbor. You, sir, that guy's your partner, okay? That's how it's going to work out here right now. You want to sit on the side, so work it out. Find somebody. Everybody's got to talk to somebody in this room right now. What are the qualities of this wine? And then I want to hear the food from you guys, and then I'll come back to Victor. Go, you're on your own. Talk to them.
Yes.
I believe it. Fruit. Interactive.
Yeah.
You know why? It's the same thing as I asked this. Patient. Exercise. We're here for an hour and a half.
Perfect. I love the dryness and the salinity of this.
For the value, Italian sparkling, there's no better value than sparkling in the world. I really.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go to my esteemed panel members, what do you guys do? This is a high-level group. I'm not talking to consumers. You do this all the time, like I do it all the time. So what was your first impression of the wine? Anybody here want to give me some feedback? I'm sorry? It's fresh. Okay, fresh, easy to drink. As I said, that acidity comes through. Acidity means refreshing to me, unless it's overly acidic. Is there enough fruit in this wine? That's all. That's what I'm paying for. Whether it's a $10 bottle of wine or a $10,000 bottle of wine, I want to have the fruit. So let's talk about food here right now. Eggs Benedict. Right, perfect timing, right? Would you like some? I can order it. Room service, 1 Eggs Benedict here in the front row. Shellfish. I think this wine and almost all sparkling wines are so versatile. Unless you're getting into an older style, any kind of sparkling wine, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This side, by the way, this is Group A, and this is Group B, just so you know. And it's a competition. Somebody's going to get a prize here. I don't know who it is. Right now, you're tied, just so you know. Over here in Group B, somebody want to give me something on the food? Potato chips. Potato chips. And where are you from, sir? Idaho? Just checking out. I'm just checking in here. Why? Okay.
Could be.
All right, so saltiness. So I'm just hearing something with saltiness that will do. Peanuts. If you want to throw it in then here right now, if you're from Georgia, you can do that as well. Group A, anything here? Another one? One more?
Rind cheese.
Which one?
Bloomy rind cheese.
Oh.
I would say freshly baked sourdough French bread.
I'm getting hungry and I just finished breakfast, so I don't know. I guess the bottom line is that's
With
why
butter, Ron?
All right, I'm going to go back to these guys. But my point is, as you can see here right now, they talk about the diversity of Italian wines. There are no, let me come up to the answer, Ron, because you put this together. Got me up here somehow. But the fact remains is, do Italian wines translate into American cooking? Yes. The answer is yes. We can all go home now. Okay, so this is an open forum for any discussion you want to talk. You want to talk about the election? We can do that. We can go to New Hampshire right now. But Victor, you said you had a wine for this.
A wine? A sandwich?
Yeah, sandwich. Yeah, sorry, you got the wine.
Right. So I agree with these sparkling wines of Italy. I think the sparkling wines of Italy are some of the best values in the world in sparkling wines. To match a sparkling wine like this from France or even from a good California producer, you can't. So I think they offer an unbelievable opportunity. Now I'm going back to my sandwich. So where would I go? Ron said butter on bread. I would cut a thick piece of country bread from a good bakery, and I would buy some great butter. I would cut a couple pieces of Wisconsin cheddar I'm not from Wisconsin, but I love all cheeses, but we're in America, so we're gonna go with cheddar. And why not like a zesty pimento or pepper kind of paste, and then a little more fat. I want a little more fat, so I'm gonna slice some avocado. I'm gonna take one of those cast iron skillets. I'm gonna put some of that good French butter in there, American butter, and I'm gonna brown that bread, get it nice and crispy and toasty. Cheese is gonna melt a bit. The acidity of this wine, the freshness, with the fattiness of that cheese and the butter, perfect play. It's kind of like, I say often, if you have a great piece of grilled fish, what do you want to put on it? A squeeze of lemon. So you need the acidity with the fat. So here, I'm posing that question, and I'm answering that question by saying a sandwich with the butter, with the cheese, with the avocado, and then the crisp acidity, this sparkling wine, fresh, very dry in your mouth. I think perfect pair for me.
And it is for you.
Yeah.
It is. Charlie.
I have to say, before we roll into the food, this is from Oltrepo Pavese. For the guys, I mean, if you've never been there, you're talking about Riesling before. This is probably one of the finest regions for Riesling and also for Pinot Nero. And I have to say the quality of this sparkling is stunning. And for me, you know, I talk about the South, and if you've never been in New Orleans and you go to, you know, downtown and you really get this big time po' boy with the deep fried oysters with relish and mayo and cayenne pepper, I have to say, try it. That hoagie, you know, soft. We're talking about panini here, talking about sandwich. Imagine a great glass of rosé, Pinot Nero, with this hoagie in your mouth and crunchy with the spiciness and the relish. My God, I'm hungry already, Kevin. I'm hungry. And
I wish we could film
deep
this.
Deep fry oyster. You can do it with shrimps. I mean, shrimp is probably the best choice here. The tiny little shrimp with chef. Probably, I mean, I like your pairing, but I have to say, I got to defend the South, man. We have a lot of great. Po' boy, by the way, is the poor people's sandwich, and you can go in any corner, you know, around New Orleans, around NOLA, and have fun. I love that part of the world. So
Yeah, some people have never left New York. Could you tell them what a po' boy is?
it's the poor sandwich. You know, it's a hoagie, bread, soft, and of course you put shrimp, oyster. You can do it with beef if you want. I mean, maybe you can do pastrami here with another thing. but I have to say, when you talk about the seafood of the Gulf of Mexico, you got to respect those immigrants that they came from Africa, and they told us another way to enjoy crepe Suzette, or I mean, if you've been in Antoine or you've been in one of those fancy restaurants right there, and I have to say, this is my pair, and I go for it, and I die for it.
Please don't die on stage.
No.
I wouldn't know how to explain that to anybody. One thing I want to say about Italy is, again, being here at Vino 2016, that when I started studying wines, which was, again, 40 years ago, or it was actually 45 years ago now that I think about it, we didn't talk about Italy. We didn't talk about Italy. We talked about France, and we had a smattering of German wines. And if you take a look at any of the wine lists, the early wine lists, and I'm from New York, so the 21 Club, or something like the Four Seasons, it was all French wines, and then the white wines were German wines. Italy wasn't making good wines. Absolutely, positively, I've tried them, even I respectfully, on some of the people on the older Barolos, I could see young people dying. Young people dying when they talked about some of the old Barolos that I've tasted. Not because they weren't made right, because they weren't stored right. Okay, they were probably made perfectly, but by the time they got here to New York, they were dead, unless you went to the winery and did it. And of course, you didn't talk about Australia, you didn't talk about New Zealand, you didn't talk about Chile, Argentina, or South Africa. It didn't really exist. And so somebody said it the other day, over the last 30 years, things have changed. I'm going to put it a different way. Italy has had to unlearn, after thousands of years of making wine, unlearn and relearn how to make wine for the global market. And this is a global market wine. This actually works. And do you remember, some of you that are like me, 34, would remember Asti Spumante, correct? And that's all we dealt with was Asti Spumante. We would go to weddings in Queens and Brooklyn, maybe sometimes in New York, to the wedding, big places, and it would be coming out of a fountain. Asti Spumante coming out of the fountain, and they would give you that little glass, the little glass of the saucer. You know what I'm talking about, the saucer glass? The one that they say you're not supposed to use for champagne? It was invented by a restaurateur, there's no doubt about it, because they used that glass for Asti Spumante out of the fountain, then they washed it, and when you sat down, it had shrimp cocktail in it, same glass. This is how they saved money, and we know all about breakage, is that correct? Yes? And then the main course came, and then they used it for the sorbet show. We didn't have sorbet, sherbet, or ice cream at the end. So they had 3 uses for that glass. But here we are talking about, a rosé from a different region that's really perfectly, globally acceptable, etc. And of course, let's not forget Prosecco, that's doing so well. Okay, does everybody have wine number 2? Okay, and I'm going to say to pour wine number 3 as well. That doesn't mean you drink it. So pick up, first of all, do me a favor. Take a look at your technical sheets or whatever so you have an understanding of what you are drinking. It would help because it's very, very important. The way this wine is made dictates what food it goes with. That is my premise. So you're on your own. You may look at the color. It was just the first wine I wanted to hold you up on. I really wanted to give you stress. All right, but look at the color first. What kind of color are you getting there? Talk to your neighbor. You may also talk to your neighbor now. Smell it. Can I show you something? And you, again, this is to the choir, but here's what I do for consumers. Okay, everybody's smelling the wine. I smell it, I get something. But I tell you what, put your hand over the top, because I haven't seen many people doing this. And it's going to be much more when you hit a Brunello or a Barolo or an Amarone. Ready? Open it up. Does it change? Have we increased the intensity of the aroma? This is not a bouquet, this is a young one, this is aroma. Not only that, 3 things happened. We intensified the aromas. If the glass was dirty, you just cleaned it. Congratulations. And people in group A got it on their hand. Just want you to know who they are. I won't point them out right now. They get all 7, they can lick their way through the day. That's how it works out. Toast, I didn't hear any toasting going on. If you didn't toast, there are evil spirits on 6th Avenue. You will suffer.
Yes.
Talk to your neighbor. Like it or not like it. My style, not my style. Light, medium, or full of body. Skim milk? What kind of food? Is there any fruit there? Is there any tannin in the wine? Oh, all these major questions that one must ask themselves. Go ahead, talk to yourself or talk to somebody else. Hey guys, did you like the wine? Yes or no? Again, this is the great thing about, and I'm going to get to you in a second, but the thing about Italian white wines, and this is how I wrote my book 30 years ago. Italy doesn't spend enough time on their white wines. All right, that's what I said 30 years ago. I won't say that anymore, because what I'm getting out of Italy, I'm not getting what I'm going to call Montrachet style, although there is some, but I'm going to be getting clean, crisp, a refreshing, a wine that is ready to drink now that's not going to get any better and is going to be perfect with food. And that's how I would position this wine, not all Italian white wines. Sir, your question. You know, that's a lot, by the way. I taste 100 wines a week. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be doing 30 or 40 of them. And I got to tell you, I would say half of the wines that I try, the aroma, the taste does not live up to the aroma in general. But again, is this a light, medium, or full-bodied wine? Please, audience, a light-bodied wine. Is there enough fruit for you? Well, let's do, raise of hands helps, okay? How many people say enough fruit? Enough fruit. They desire more fruit, okay? Obviously, it's not going to happen in this wine. And maybe even you guys would have to come through with me on Vermentino as well. And this is from Tuscany, and again Banfi, and Banfi just makes all good wines. That's how I look at it. It was a paid political announcement. Sharon McCarthy gave me $10. So anyhow, it worked out.
100.
Oh, sorry, it's $200. There's Sharon McCarthy sitting in the back there. Don't mess with Sharon. That's how I got to work it out. Anyhow, guys, I'm going to start with Charlie this time.
I have to say that I was thinking about something very American, mac and cheese. And if you really want to do a mac and cheese on Sunday night before football, I have to say this is the winner.
Yeah, football's over, Charlie. Can you try to keep it going?
It's
NBA thing or something?
Italian football, by the way.
Oh, of course, that football. Yeah, okay.
That
Right.
football, soccer, yes.
I think Vermentino's, most of you should know this, and if you don't, I'll give you a little Vermentino history. So it's coastal. So it grows in coastal Tuscany, Liguria, and in Sardinia. Right. And I think when you drink this wine, I think knowing where it comes from is very important, because when you drink it, I smell in the nose some salinity, some salt from the sea, and then you get this Mediterranean fruit, this citrus Mediterranean fruit, like kind of maybe not like a quite ripe mango, still a little citrusy, but the flesh, tropical fruit. And these wines are my go-to wine when I start a party or I have guests over. Vermentino. I love Vermentino because it's versatile, and again, they're very high in acidity. It kind of cleans your palate, and it really gets you ready to eat and drink. And Kevin has promised that on these crackers we're gonna have something to eat.
Whatever you want. Crackers are for free too. Just indulge.
I have to say,
Can I
I have to say
Charlie,
something.
I want to stop my John. Just one quick thing. And by the way, is there any oak in this wine?
None.
It's on your sheets. That's all. You don't have to look at me. It's on your sheets. It says it's all what? Stainless steel. Stainless steel going to make stainless steel fermentation, and if there's any stainless steel aging or bottle aging, is that going to make a difference in my food choice between something that's oak aged?
Right.
Whether you want to talk about first-year oak versus third-year oak, or big barrels versus small barrels, what is it going to be? It's going to play into the decision that I'm going to make. So I'm sorry.
No, I have to say, when we talk about inox here, we talk about stainless steel. I mean, the expression of Vermentino is what we need to exploit here. And for something the chef just said, the coastal, La Maremma, El Tirreno, the Tyrrhenian Sea, where we have a lot of sunshine. If you see what happened with this grape, not only in the Maremma area in Sardinia and also in Corsica and the southern part of France, and that triangle that you find these big, ripe Vermentino, sometimes a little bit much, deep color. But talking about a gentleman who said, well, I don't find the fruit here, but in Vermentino you need to explore. You need to actually let the wine express himself in the glass. And like someone said in the business of wine the other day, Charlie, every wine has a soul, and I really love that. Every single wine has a soul. You find it in acidity, you find it in freshness, or how lively, or how we say in Italian, vivace. Vino, talking about vivace, we have a vivace wine number 3. So,
Okay, we'll get to that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this question, and you can talk to yourselves, your neighbor. How many people are starting to like their neighbor better because they've had 2 glasses of wine? Didn't like him at the beginning, but you know what? They're not that bad. Wait till the 4th glass and the red wine's coming. You'll be their best. You'll be hugging, kissing. Talk to your neighbor. Is this a Riesling style? And this is how talk about wine education, Sharon. And you were doing this. I got to tell an 18 to 25-year-old person about what a Vermentino is. Am I going to say Chardonnay? Am I going to say Riesling? Am I going to say Sauvignon Blanc? Talk to your neighbor. What do you think it is? We'll get back to you in a second. Okay, here we go. Vote time. How many think it's like a really big Chardonnay? Anybody gonna go Chardonnay? I didn't think so. Yeah, Bill, I know, Bill. You're just always out of the group. That's okay. Bill's from New York. He's never left New York, so that's we patronize him a little bit. It's either Sauvignon Blanc or Riesling, and I would have to say obviously dry Riesling, not a German style Cabernet. It wouldn't even work because you got at least 3% residual sugar. So dry Riesling or Sauvignon Blanc. How many people are going with the dry Riesling style? I'm going to say no Sauvignon Blanc. So there's my answer, and that's what that's exactly how I would position a Vermentino without oak, as a Sauvignon Blanc. That's how, if there are all of these varietals that are in Italy, and you got to explain them to your staff, who then explains them to the customer, then it's got to start somewhere. So I'm trying to do that. It doesn't always work, but you were talking, Victor, about some combination that you would like to do as well.
So, obviously a lot of citrus in this wine, and if you look on your technical sheet, it's 6.3% acidity. There's a lot of acidity in this wine. So if you open some fresh clams or oysters, and instead of squeezing a lemon, you took a little of the Vermentino with a pinch of sea salt and maybe a shallot or a scallion or something very fine, it would do the same thing as the lemon. And if you're drinking this wine, I wouldn't add any more acidity because it's here. So I want the fattiness of the oyster with this wine. Remember, it's coastal, so this wine goes great with seafood. So I would stick to seafood, Vermentino. And one other thing about Italian wines, and oftentimes in restaurants, people are confused. People say, in my restaurants we only sell Italian wines, and most of the times the white wines of Italy are not oak aged. There are some, but generally they're all stainless steel fermented. So if someone drinks Vermentino or even a Chardonnay from Italy, and they're used to these big buttery Chardonnays from France or California, and I serve them a beautiful Chardonnay. It's a great expression of Chardonnay, but it may not be what they're looking for. So, as Kevin said, he took the Vermentino and said, yeah, a Sauvignon Blanc drinker would like Vermentino, and I agree 100%. But oftentimes, it's a little difficult with Italian white wines because they're not like the other wines of the world, because generally Italian wines are only aged and fermented in stainless steel.
A food combination, Charlie?
Oh, we're still in the Vermentino, right?
Yeah.
And I have to say,
Thanks. I know you were doing your last contract just a moment ago for your next film.
You're right. This is great. I have to say, when I talk Vermentino, I like to travel through different stations of my palate, and I have to say, when I talk about Vermentino, I really like to take you to something that is very plain in Florida and the Stonecrest Claws in the Gulf of Mexico South. You go to Naples, you go for Bonita Springs, you go to Fort Myers. Forget about the sauce, a little bit of butter. Just deep, dry butter, dipping on it, and a glass of Vermentino, and you will have an explosion of, incredible flavor. And when I talk about Stonecrest Claws, of course, how many of you have been in Key West? Listen, if you didn't go to Key West and have a Sunday afternoon with a Stonecrest Claws, get the bottle of Vermentino from Banfi. Another ad for Sharon.
$20.
Yeah, no, but I have to say, what is going on with Vermentino, for the ones that have been in the wine business for more than 20 years, this is a grade that comes in between a Sauvignon Blanc and Chard. So you can actually play a lot on seafood, like Chef said. This is a party pleaser. Yeah. And Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, about Vermentino, forget about that spicy, maybe Sauvignon Blanc sometimes that catch your palate. And why not a Vermentino just to play with? And by the way, who doesn't like ceviche? Right? Peruvian ceviche, that's another one. So
you can make American ceviche too. Just keeping that in mind.
The retail price of this wine is $15. You're hard pressed to find a wine of that quality for $15.
One last thing before we go on to the next wine by the glass. The National Restaurant Association has put out statistics that say over 50% of all wines sold in restaurants, tablecloth restaurants, are wine by the glass. My personal opinion is the Vermentino is not a wine by the glass, because that acidity will get to you. It needs food. There are food wines, and then if you want to look at it, there are non-food wines. Wines that you can just enjoy the whole glass and just leave it alone. I believe that the Vermentino, and maybe even the next wine, has to have it. We'll find out in a second. You have the third wine or the fourth, please. Thank you. All right, you're on your own on wine number 3. The Avellino.
production. We got the team here.
I know. That's why I'm getting that one. Yes, supporting.
Today, Mid 10, the New York Emmys are announced. We were nominated for five categories, so we'll find out how many we were. They're announced today, and then March something. No, so there's band, and then there's New York and LA. So, as you progress and become national, you go to New York, wherever your team starts, and then we could have the Emmy. So every category, from news programming to documentary to food to
Get that bottle of sparkling wine. Guys, have you all tried it? First question, is it different than your previous Vermentino, yes or no? Yeah, that's the hardest thing, and everybody throws this out there. Give me a word to describe the wine. And the hardest thing in the world to do is to take any smell, any taste really, and put a word to it. I think that we forget that. And that's why a lot of writers have found poetic justice in creating new words to describe wine. But to me, it's plain and simple. When I'm looking at a wine and food combination, texture, number one. Okay, or if you will, body, number one, texture, light, medium, or full in body. You're going to have to make that decision in a second. How is the fruit level of the wine? And really, how is the acid? Because that, and again, the acidity, we're going to get more over here. You're going to get it all over your mouth. You're going to get more over here. And again, on the second taste, the acidity, why I asked you to try the wine a second time. Acidity is probably the strongest component in wine, personal opinion. And if it's there on the second taste, you're not going to know it as much. Your brain is ready for it. Did you like it? Yes or no? Let's start off with the easy question. Yes, up, down. Would you agree again? Another easy to drink, well-made, refreshing wine. Can anybody in here, for my panel members, because they're very shy. If you haven't noticed, they're extremely shy. Anybody want to give me a descriptor, a real quick descriptor, 3 words? 3 words, that's all I'm looking for is 3 words.
It's
Go ahead.
floral, a little honey character, a little peach.
That's 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
Anybody else? Now that's going into fruits, okay? But let's go back to what I'm saying. Is it light, medium, or full in body? Start with that one.
Medium.
Okay, so this has got a little bit more body, and so actually we did a good thing by putting it in this order, didn't we? Because if and that's what I do with my wine school. The most important thing is putting the wines in the right order. I would have changed the whole taste of wine number 2 by having this as wine number 2. So I think it's also drier. And does anybody check it out? Stainless steel. We got oak here. What do we got? Although, I have to tell you, I'm getting a dryness in my mouth that gives me a little bit of that tannin, even though, who knows, it's not coming from the oak, so it probably isn't there, but there's a dryness in the wine. Higher acidity or lower acidity? Let's do by a round of hands. How much say wine number 3? Lower in acid than wine number 2. Higher in acid. Same acidity. How many people aren't voting anymore? Do not have the wherewithal at 10 o'clock in the morning to raise their hands here right now. Okay, so I think I got a descriptor. Can I call this light to medium? Is that fair? I mean, sometimes I go medium to light. But that is a way I look at light to medium in style. The fruit was there. I think, as you just said, the honey, the peach skin. To me, I was getting that at the very beginning, especially in the nose coming through. But I will definitely say that this wine's ends dry. Is your mouth dried out? It wasn't. It wasn't in the Vermentino. It is here. Guys, Charlie, I'll start with you.
I like the smokiness, in this wine. You cannot really deny the origin of this wine because it comes from very volcanic soils. And by the way, Avellino is a small town inland in Campania where we find the soils are very volcano-like. So we have an interesting innuendo going between the acidity, and of course when I talk about acidity, I talk about fried food. For me, coming from the south, and if you never try it, by the way, alligator tidbits every Tuesday afternoon. It sounds
Alligator
funny.
pits, did you say?
The tidbits, the little deep fry alligator.
Alligator bites.
By the way, if you've never been in Immokalee, this is the center of Florida. I have to say, every Tuesday back in the day, I used to go and try, tidbits of alligators or scallopini. Alligators scallopini with lemon and capers. Let me just tell you.
You heard it here first.
Hey, you hear it?
Yeah, there's writers out here. They're going to be writing about
Hey,
this.
listen,
This is
I
going to
need
become
to like
viral.
Florida. This is Central Florida type of food. So I hope you like this wine because it's from a family that we all adore. Mastro Berardino. They make such a great job on this. They've been in the wine business. The wine is called Radici, means Radici, the roots. Huh? This is probably one of my favorite Fiano d'Avellino, one of the historical wines of Campania. So I love that salinity, that minerality that sticks in your palate and is very dry.
What about food? Besides the alligator, was there something else?
Oh no,
I'm not sure they have access to alligator. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Hey, frog legs. We have
Okay,
frog legs
all right.
too. I mean, yeah. Hey.
Okay.
It's the same type of animal.
It's still 10:15, so take it easy, okay? By the way, Ron asked me to come up here. Michael Weiss from the Culinary Institute of America was supposed to be in this position today. Unfortunately, he had an operation. He's fine. If you know Michael, no problem. It wasn't an emergency, but I guess it was an emergency, but he came out of it fine. He chose these wines, so I give him a lot of credit for choosing these style wines. And Victor, on food? Sandwich? Are we still on a sandwich?
I'm on sandwich first, but I'd like to make one comment about these first two white wines. You saw the first wine that we drank was in a clear bottle. Okay, so when you see an Italian wine in a clear bottle, drink it. It's there, it's fresh, you want to drink that wine. You saw the Fiano was in a dark green bottle, looked more like a red wine bottle. And we asked why. And the reason why is because this wine will also age a bit. It has great minerality and really good acidity, so if you put this wine, and I like Fianos that age a bit, even though it's all stainless steel, this wine will age 2 or 3 years, and when you open that bottle again, a different expression of Fiano, and I think, if you buy a couple bottles, put one away in the cellar and try it in a couple years, they really, really come to life, and it brings a whole new aspect to Fiano. Yes. So, I have to go back to Italy on this one, Kevin, but I was walking around old Naples, and I was filming in the old city of Naples, and in Naples, you either eat pizza, the best pizza in the world. I think the best pizza parlor in the world is Da Michele in Naples. They give you a ticket, you wait online, it's like the golden ticket, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's like you hit a home run. If it's raining out, they wait online. If it's snowing out, well, sometimes snowing. No, I'm never in Naples, but all types of weather. They sell umbrellas, bathing suits, whatever online, because you're online for a long time to get a pizza. But the magic of Fiano, I found in the old city of Naples, they have these places called Frittadora. It's the frying place. And they have croquettes or rice balls. But the best it's called frittadina. It's kind of a pasta fried with bechamel, peas, prosciutto. And for €1 on the street, you get this beautiful fried delicacy. I mean, food doesn't get better than this for me. And oftentimes at the Frittadora, they have a bottle of local Fiano, and it's cold, and they give you a glass. It's in a paper cup, and it's one of the marvelous food pairings. And I think Italy suggests that we should drink and eat where we are. So when you're in Tuscany or you're in a little village and they make a very particular variety, oftentimes those food and wines pair so well together. So really they say in Italy it's all about kilometer zero, and really it's about where you are. And how does that translate to American food? I think the same thing is true, and that when we drink a great wine like this, think of its origin, think of where it's from, and then I go, we step out of the box and say, what could I make that would complement this wine? Because really, that pairing is, when you hit it on the head, and I'm sure we all have in this room, you say, that was magic, right? And really, to make the magic happen, you have to taste the food and wine together. With this wine, I'm going Italian hoagie, like a straight up with a lot of really good salami, some slices of provolone. I would put some basil on there. I would rip it with my hand so you had that vibrancy of the basil. Maybe a nice bread from Balthazar. Their French baguette is beautiful. Put a sandwich together, and again, some sliced pepper, a few capers on there would be fine. That saltiness of the caper, and with this wine, so think about where the wines are from and kind of go from there. But I'll go with the sandwich again.
No, I have no problem with it. As a matter of fact, anybody else have any other foods? Yes. Let me repeat the question. It comes from a volcanic area, and Victor's not eating well. I just want you to know that. And
If you go to Italy and you're invited to someone's house to eat, I would say that on my last trip, I was there for 25 days. I rolled into Italy at svelte, maybe 156. In 23 days, I left 23 pounds heavier. So, you know, they say, the name of my show is Eat, Drink, Italy, so someone has to do it, and I often do. So my wife's like, you better go on a diet before you go to Italy again, because you're going to come back, and one time you're going to be 200, and I'm going to be gone. So
I want to hear the healthy.
it's an ultimatum.
The healthy recipe you may have.
blackened. She's thinking of something blackened, like blackened fish. Mahi being one of them.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Sure.
Yeah.
Zesty spice on top of it. I mean, again, there are no answers. Bottom line, there are no answers when it comes to wine and food. It's going to come to your own individual taste.
But Kevin, before we go to the next question, remember, play with acid and fat, play with alcohol and fat. You can play also with acid against acid by contrast. And that's what we play when we actually, for me as a sommelier on the floor for so many years, I mean, whatever the chef does, I need to look for something that really is capable to get to the flavor. I never think about the item, I think about the ingredients, which is what really makes, you know, myself, I have to say, I'm probably the only one in this country 20 years ago pairing Chianti Classico Reserva, talking about Chianti Classico now, and Super Tuscans with all seafood, from cod to langostinos to shrimp, and that's how, you know, with halibut and the pancetta, the ham, you know.
Okay,
get
just
into that.
thank you. Descriptor, what grape of the three white grapes that I gave you, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, or Chardonnay, would this wine fit into? You have 10 seconds to make that decision with your neighbor so you both get it wrong. Try to do it with your neighbor so you'll not come up with the answer. Your neighbor, you left. I don't know what you're doing over there. The guy, you know, look like a nice guy. 3, 2, 1, 0. Anybody want to come up with something? Again, remember what I was talking about is Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, and Chardonnay. I think I've come up to mine would be an unoaked Chardonnay. Macon, I mean, if you really want to look at it, or there's a lot of unoaked Chardonnays in California. So I'm upping it a little bit. I'm bringing it up to a medium style wine on the food end. It might be light there, but I don't want to overpower the wine. That's the biggest problem with wine and food. As a matter of fact, how many people in this room like to cook? We're the people that actually do spend time in the kitchen cooking. And you spend 6 hours, 8 hours preparing a meal, and then you allow somebody else to add the final ingredient. What's the final ingredient? The wine, which could destroy what you've done for 6 or 8 hours. And so, not with this group because you're both wine and food, but in general, that's the way it works out. All right, one last question. How many people here drink more white wine than red? Where are you? Take a look around the room because I want to show you something. How many people drink more red wine? Where are the red wine drinkers? Suffering through those white wines, yes? And how many people in this room blended the white and the red together to make a rosé? And you laugh, right? You laugh. The holiday season, right? Your mother-in-law showed up and she wanted a white Zinfandel. And you went in the kitchen, a little white, a little red, spoonful of sugar. Mother-in-law over there, happy. That's all we care about. Red. I'm a red wine drinker, and I think the order we put these wines in is for a reason. So we're going to go right to the reds right now. Pick up wine number 4, Badia Portobono, Chianti Classico Reserva, DOCG. Your technical sheet is there if you need to know anything about oak. Is there any oak in here? All right. Can you smell it? Can you see it in the color? Can you see through the color? I'm going to ask you that question. Can you see through the color? Because I'm going to make a real general statement. If you can see through the color of any wine at any time, anywhere, if you can see through it, it's ready to drink. Except for Barolo and Barbaresco. I'll let those go. But I'll tell you, that's how I look at it. So I'm saying to myself right now, I could drink this wine. I know I could drink this wine right now. We'll see if it's going to age. Smell it? This is where your hand really plays a part. Especially for licking later. It really does play a part because it's going to bring out all of unbelievable amount of aromas in this wine. Toast, people are toasting. I don't care, you can hit on some stuff here. Send you to the Marriott rather than home.
I was just with Manuela last week.
This is a wine, without question, all Chiantis have got to be tried second time. Full of acids, full of tannins, the fruit's there, but you got to find it. And this is a Chianti Classico Reserva. This is not just a Chianti. And I never ever use this in a tasting. I always, you know what I do in my wine school when I do a Chianti Classico Reserva? The only time in the 8-week class, I give them food. I give them Parmigiano Reggiano. The real stuff, by the way, not from that can. And we actually make them do the same thing. We make them smell the glass. And then little pieces of Parmigiano Reggiano, then we make them shake it up. Try it. Open it up. It's 20 times at you, the aroma's coming at you. They try the Parmigiano Reggiano with this wine. This is a food wine. There's no doubt about it, it's a food wine. Try it a second time. Try it a second time. I know this is difficult for you to try things a second time, but you can do this. I think it's a tough wine. I think, and this, again, high-end, great vintage, great producer, as you just said. You were over there, Victor?
No, I was with Emanuela Stucchi Prinetti. She's the daughter, the owner. Her and her brother and her family still run Badia Cotobono. And I've had the honor of cooking in the Lorenzo de' Medici kitchen. So her mom created a genre of television, right kind of when Lydia was coming out. And 2 seasons ago, I was there in the kitchen and cooked with a few chefs there. And it's a magic place in Gaioli and Chianti.
Also, if you want to go into the monastery,
Yeah.
Right.
you can stay there the rest of your life at the monastery at Badia. But what about, let's start with you, Victor, on a sandwich. This is I just think it's a tough...
This is so easy for a sandwich.
Oh, okay, great.
This is Americana, 100%. I'm going on my grill, backyard. I'm buying the big jumbo Thuman's hot dog. I'm buying short rib burger. I'm cooking burgers and dogs with all kinds of great toppings, onions, relish, mustard, ketchup. This wine needs food, the acidity. This wine will come to life, even if you bite the cracker, but if we had a piece of Parmesan cheese or a little piece of prosciutto, the wine will come to life. And really, we're doing this wine an injustice by not having food with it.
Ron, could you get some food for everybody, please? There's a request up here.
I was thinking about meatloaf. Meatloaf would be great.
Meatloaf would be fantastic.
American style.
American, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Meatballs. Philly cheese. Well, the people from Philadelphia are speaking up. Philly cheesesteak. And how about you, Charlie?
I do turkey. Nice grilled turkey with relish, and I will love a little bit of mustard. You know, that earthiness. You need to exploit the earthiness and the spiciness and the cherry-like flavors of this great Chianti. By the way, for the ones that we follow wine, this is a very old recipe of Chianti Classico, Cileggiolo, Colorino. I mean, this is Sangiovese or Chianti Classico at its best. I mean, this is probably one of the few Chianti Classico made with an old recipe. I mean, just look at your paper. I mean, those grapes, Colorino, Cileggiolo, Canaiolo, you don't see them anymore. So think about the earthiness and think about, you know, how good could be a nice little steak of turkey, just plain grilled like a paillard, and a little bit of mustard and relish.
Yeah, actually, we're a little bit past Thanksgiving. I know you live in Florida, and you haven't heard about Thanksgiving
Turkey
yet,
is
but
at least a month.
You're getting ready for it for next year, which brings me to my philosophy of giving wines to relatives. Never, ever give good wines to relatives. That's number one. All right, you should know this by now. You keep the wine in the kitchen because you got to do the cooking, right? Check it out. You're drinking that stuff. But, you know, you throw 5 bottles of wine on the table and let it go because it's not just the turkey, right? It's the other sweet potatoes. My mother makes this thing with Jell-O. It's got things floating in it. I have no idea what it is. You know what it is? Okay, I don't know either. Anybody have another idea for Chianti Classico Reserva? Yes, sir. Venison. Okay. How would you, any way you would prepare it? Okay, a light glaze with cranberry on top of the venison. Are you talking about, okay, yes? sauteed Brussels sprouts with pancetta shaved and Parmesan cheese. I'm just throwing it out. I mean, you know, there's-
Kevin, I think this wine, everyone kind of remembers Chianti when their grandma and grandpa brought them to a pizza parlor and it had the old straw fiasco with the candle in it. And really, Chianti has evolved to be, it's one of the great values in Italian wines. And these wines can age, a good Chianti Classic can age with a Brunello. And this wine in a pizza parlor today with a great Neapolitan type pizza that's all over New York City, Sangiovese likes tomatoes. It likes the acidity of tomatoes. So,
We sing for you too.
Oh yeah, one more time. Here we go.
Hey, we sing. We can sing for you. We can sing for you. We can sing. Salute. Salute l'Italia.
yeah. So pizza and Chianti, Kevin.
All right, pizza and Chianti. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do one last question. We're going to stand up. Yes.
Sir, did you say grilled salmon with this?
I would, I didn't say grilled salmon, but I would eat grilled salmon with this, but I would make sure you would have to have a wild, like, a salmon that really tastes like salmon. So in today's market, there's a lot of salmon out there that are farm raised, but this time of the year you can get like really good sockeye or Copper River salmon. So you really want a wild salmon. Those salmon have tremendous flavor and tremendous fat content. They're the salmons that are really good for you because of the fat content. Again, this wine, the acidity of Sangiovese loves fat. It really loves fat. So with a salmon with, you know, some winter mushrooms, just grilled mushrooms, a little really good olive oil, salt and pepper, I think you hit a home run.
One other recipe for you that I like what you're doing. You're writing everything. Hollywood, chopped ham, smoked ham, and a little bit of chickpeas and black currants to make something different, very Alsatian, right? And if you really like capers and caperberries and sultanas, just throw it there in the pan on the top of the Hollywood.
Easy for you to say. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish, and remember there's people behind you, it's a little tight, I can see that, but I've learned something from teaching because I'm always standing up. I'm not sitting down, I'm standing up, that my students I get a different perception of the color of the wines than standing up than you do sitting down. Would you, if you can, work your way through, stand up and look down at the last three colors. The last three colors, that's all I'm asking. Just remember the people behind you. I mean, let's just get to the color and get the color out right away. Out of the three wines, is there one that's darker than the other ones? Talk to your neighbor.
What is this, 7th inning stretch?
Yes. Peter Holt, please sit down. All right, that's enough. You're bothering all of us. But there is a difference when you do stand up. And as Victor said, yeah, that was 7th inning stretch. When you've been sitting for an hour and 15 minutes, and we're out of here in 15 minutes, I don't care if we finish these wines or not, we're blending them all together. Yeah, we're going to eat. You're going to cook. Why are you still standing up, Charlie? Okay. Anyhow, is there a difference in color between these three? So I got it's number 5, 6, and 7. So that makes it a little bit easier for everybody. About 5, and people say the darkest color is number 5. 6, 7. So I guess we put them in the right order. And I'm going to look at it that way, and that's somehow I do it that way. I look at the color, and then I put the wines in the order. That's not always correct, but it's going to work for me right now. And then which is the lightest color? I think I know the answer to the question, but how many say it's number 5 is the lightest color? Number 6 is the lightest color. Number 7 is the lightest color. So majority rules, and that doesn't mean you're right or wrong. They're all what? They're colorblind. You're right. Absolutely, you're all colorblind. Anyhow, the concept is what is wine number? What is wine number 5, please? What country is it from? You better get this right, otherwise you're not invited back next year. All right? There is no Vino 2017 for you next year. Okay, you're not on the list. What country? It's inside Italy. Where? You see, ladies and gentlemen, everything to me is a circle, okay? Everything is a circle. The more I get inside the circle, the better the wine's going to be. Like the previous wine. I got Italy, right? Then I got Tuscany. Then I got Chianti. Then I got Classico. Then I got Reserva. Then I got Badia Coltabono. That's how I look at it. I had to go that many times to get into the circle. Here I am, this wine. I got Italy. Inside Italy, where am I? Tuscany. Inside Tuscany, where am I? Montalcino. What else can you tell me about the wine? Maybe the grape. Tell me the name of the grape. That helps. Well, actually, you know what I was told when I was in Tuscany? And anybody can disagree with me here right now, but I was told by the Consorzio that they don't use the name Grosso anymore. Just letting you know. This was recently. No more Grosso because it sounds gross. I'm not, that's one of the reasons. But so, Sangiovese or called Brunello, whatever you want to do. Pick it up, please. So now we're no longer in blended wines, although the other ones were 100% as well, except the Chianti. So, okay, color, can you see through it? A little bit. Means you probably have to taste it. Guess what? You're probably going to have more tannins in a way, or perceived tannins. Keep that in mind, because tannins going to play into our wine and food. Smell it? Now that, to me, is night and day versus the Chianti, which is not 100% Sangiovese, but 80%, but still, with the other grapes there, it does make a difference at 20%. What are you getting in the nose? What are you getting in the aromas? It's still aroma time. What are we getting? Words. Cherries. Cherries. Black cherries, red cherries, black fruits, okay? A little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of spiciness. Somebody else? Black licorice. Yes? Licorice, anise, whatever you want to use. What words you want to use? You're all right about wine, most of you, so put your hand over the top. Just to remind you, because if you want to get full throttle, full impact, bum, 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 open it up.
Smells cow.
Smells what?
Cow.
Cow? Meaty. We have another word up here, meaty, rather than cow. That's okay. Well, it depends on which cow you're talking about there right now. A toast, please, a toast. Toast. Come on, Dad. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You gotta do a lunch. We're gonna do something there. Is there a difference between this wine and the previous wine from Tuscany? Now you got to make a decision. We didn't even talk about what grape the Sangiovese and the Chianti represents. Is it Cabernet Sauvignon? Is the Chianti Classico Reserva, which is 80% Sangiovese, is that more like a Cabernet, a Merlot, or a Pinot Noir? Right. You know, that's a really good question, the way I'm putting it, because it's all generalization. Not a Napa Cap, okay? Not a Napa Cap, right? Is it a Napa Merlot, too? That's the other thing as well. But so I hear everybody saying, maybe not Pinot Noir. Is that what I'm hearing? It's got a little bit more chutzpah, or whatever you want to call it, a little bit more body. So that's how I have to place it. Where do I put Sangiovese? So between Merlot and Cabernet, but not from California, okay? With an asterisk there. What about the Brunello? Where are we going there? But again, I'm going to agree, not a Napa, not a big, full-blown 14.5%, 15%, sometimes 16 and over percent Cabernet Sauvignon.
I think as
To the microphone, please.
I think as Brunello ages, you'll get, I do at least, this kind of Burgundian feel to the wines, that age, the nose, even the color on Sangiovese is, usually, if it's all Sangiovese, it's usually transparent. I mean, you can usually see through it, a brick hue, and the color reminds me, especially as the age of old Burgundies, and I get that in the nose. And if you think about it, like even with this 2010, one of the great vintages of Brunello di Montalcino, this wine will age for 30, 40 years, I think.
So we got 5.5 years on the wine right now.
And this is a single vineyard.
Yes, correct. Why don't you tell them?
This is Poggio Lemure from Banfi, and I have to say, if you've never been there, it's probably one of the most incredible places you've never been before. And how many of you went to Tuscany, by the way? How many been in Tuscany? I've never been in Banfi. Banfi, no? Maybe a few, yeah.
Sharon's in the back. She's taking reservations.
She's taking reservations.
Right there.
To come and see me.
Can you sign them all?
You-
And by
Nice
the way,
trip to Tuscany for all of you.
Brunello, I have to say, if you never, and this is what Banfi really did to this incredible wine. About 25 years ago, the revolution of the name of Brunello di Montalcino, why Brunello di Montalcino, it is today, to this century that we always like to say is one of the most noble wines of Tuscany. And we're in front of a great bottle of wine, we're in front of a great texture, great structure, and when we talk about this Brunello di Montalcino Poggio Lemure, we're talking about an historical site, and Sharon can tell you much more because Poggio Limone is historically for, I don't know, 700-800 years, it's been a place where Sangiovese was planted there before. I'm glad that you say no more Sangioveto Grosso.
I'm just letting you know what they told me, okay? And that was recently. Food, guys, we got to move.
So here I would go with the steak. I mean, the classic is the bistecca alla Fiorentina, but here I would go to like a local Whole Foods or a butcher. They have some dry-aged steaks, a dry-aged steak, and I wouldn't do too much. I would use some really nice sea salt, a little black pepper, a nice olive oil. I would grill it so it was rare, and I would do some vegetables and potatoes with that. And I think, you know, when we pair food and wine, everybody wants to get complicated. I think the simplicity of food and wine pairing is beautiful, and usually the simpler it is, the more we taste. So I don't want the food to overpower the wine, nor do I want the wine to overpower the food. And it's that combination that makes wine and food go so well together.
Victor is the only chef that likes me, because chefs do not like me when I'm doing corporate lectures and I tell them they got to tone down. They don't want to hear that they got to tone down. But then if they don't tone down, they overpower, which with the word that Victor just said, overpower the wine. So now you've lost the wine and food combination totally. Wine and food.
I have to say, I'm very close to the Cuban community down in Florida and also here in New York. And have you ever tried a suckling pig, that tender, crispy, in caja china? Have you ever tried that? If you never tried that, it's a whole suckling pig put in a box, in our suckling pig, yeah, in our big roasting box, and slowly cooked for 4-6 hours, right? And you have to probably try this, please. Brunello di Montalcino and lechon en caja china, as we say in Espanol. So if you never try that, you know that it's the filling of that crispiness and the skin, and of course the sour orange, or we call it naranja agria, which is it's a taste that is in Italian we call it arumi, and it's we squeeze orange on the top of that skin, of course, before cooking, and I have to say, wow, I really want to go to eat after this.
By the way, you are Spanish. Just keep that in mind. You're not Italian, all right? Just keep that in mind for the audience so that they know. I'm going to hold off on questions if you don't mind.
I'm
sorry.
half Napolitano.
Only because if some people have to go to another lecture, I want to make sure that I'm close to being on time. I'll get to your question in a second. I apologize. It's my fault. You can blame me later. Ready? Pick up Barolo. And this is not just a Barolo. I'll let the boys explain that in a second. First of all, what country? Inside Italy, where? You better get Piemonte correct, right? Who said Piedmont used to be the name of an airline? Piemonte, everybody's right, Piemonte. You know, use your hands a little bit or something, right? You've been here a day and a half or whatever. Yeah, Piemonte, inside Piemonte. What is Barolo? No, what is Barolo? No, what is Barolo? Name of a village. That's why I love going there, because when I see Barolo, I'm going into the town, the sign says Barolo. When I leave the town 5 minutes later, it's Barolo. It's gone. Barolo's gone, but that's okay. Barbaresco's down the street. So then you see Barbaresco and you're okay. 100% Nebbiolo. I don't know what to do with this wine. I have my own thoughts. Ready? Smell it? I'm looking at your face. I know what you're going through right now, because I'll be going through the same thing in a second. And again, sir, we're talking about, I think that the nose is on this is going to be totally different than the taste, knowing the wine. Put your hand over the top to get full aromas. Give it a toast. Everything, everybody.
When you drink with Kevin, everybody, there's a lot of toast, so you're sure to have good luck today. That's positive.
Hey, thank you very much. Are you getting any tannin? This is, I'm going to do my thing first about food, because I haven't done much food. Going back to the cellar in the sky. This wine to me, this wine and the next wine are very, very, to me, you guys have your own thing. You've already paired your wines. You've already done it as well. It's a tough pairing because of the acidity and the tannin, especially on a young Barolo. An older Barolo, totally different story. But this still is a very, very young Barolo. But I basically, on this wine and the last wine, I always went with cheese. Just, you know, not overpowering cheese, medium style cheese, and I'd let it go because I really wanted to get to the wine. But let's start with Charlie.
I have to say, when you talk about Nebbiolo, talk about La Morra, where this wine is from. I'm talking about a family that makes probably one of the most prominent wines of the world, you have to think about something that acidity of the Nebbiolo can bring to your palate. And you know, the Italians, they call it estracotto. I'm talking about lamb here. I'm talking about a nice overcooked lamb. And if you really like to make something Italiano, we can have a little bit of short pasta and sauté ragu. Ragu pasta. I have to say, I got to go Italian this way because this is a very winter type of wine. And by the way, ageability has very few, because Marcenasco from Renato Ratti actually can go another 25 years from now. So look at the vintage. This is a great bottle of wine. And once again, go back to that acidity with acidity, fat with fat. Just think about the alcohol content here. It's 14.5. So you can play a lot with this wine. I mean,
I went with pasta.
Okay, I've never had a sandwich with a Barolo, so I can't wait.
I'm not going sandwich here, though.
Okay, see?
I'm going to step out of the box again.
Go for it.
So a traditional dish to eat with Barolo in Piemonte is brasato. It's like a pot roast. I would go grandma's pot roast here, but I have to add a flair. With what Kevin said, I would serve the pot roast with some polenta with gorgonzola or some potato with gorgonzola. This wine needs some body. The food has to have body, or else, as I said before, the wine, in this case, the wine will overpower the food. So we're looking for balance. And to get balance, I think you need a sharp cheese like gorgonzola in the polenta or risotto with the pot roast. Slice it. I would cook some carrots, celery, onion. In Piemonte, they throw a few cinnamon sticks in the pot, cook it for a long time. It's very, very soft. It falls off, you know, the meat falls apart kind of in the polenta. It's almost like a stew. And, you know, even though this wine is very young, and I think as Americans, sometimes we drink our wines too young, and the American palate is used to this tannin, but this wine, in my estimation, needs at least 10 years in the bottle before you really start to see.
I have to say, for the ones that they cook, I mean, remember those three grapes. Raboso, if you never heard, it's a grape from the Veneto. It's the grape of Marco Polo. A lot of people think that Marco Polo took that wine when he traveled the world. Tannat and Nebbiolo. Those are the three grapes that they're very high in tannin. For the ones that they cook, if you never try baby octopus stew in a great ragu, a spicy ragu over polenta, yellow polenta. This is very Venetian. I have to say, I try it with a very, very high tannin wine. This will be a wine to do with that. A nice Barolo for a change, a seafood. So remember that baby octopus with polenta with ragu.
How many people's mouths are very dry? Yeah, anybody's mouth very dry? Yes? The tannins, of course, did that. It dried out your mouth. And actually, originally, it dried it out, and now I don't know all of you, so I apologize. I've lost my saliva. Have you lost your saliva? No, really, have you lost it? Some of you aren't sure. Check the person next to you for saliva, okay? Just to see. That's when everybody starts looking at me. I'm not looking that way, I'm not doing that. But again, you got to keep that in mind, what a Barolo, even Barbaresco, that kind of thing coming out, different kind of stuff. Okay, our last wine. It's getting to be hoo-hoo here, yeah. But we went back to the classics, which we still need to do. Sharon was talking about that before. Going back to the basics and then going on further to the southern Italy, to all of Italy, not just the southern Italy. Anyhow, color. You already told me you can't see through it, correct? Right. Now, that's a problem, because what did I say? If you can see through it, it's ready to drink. If you can't see through it, then what's the problem? Color. It's probably not ready to drink yet. So the biggest question is, are you going to drink it anyway? Just want to find out what kind of group we had, guys. Ready? Nose. Because Amarone, everything's about the aromas. And of course, on an older Amarone, the bouquet is unbelievable. Cherry. Anybody else? Throw it out if you got it. Black. I think you're talking about black cherry. Chocolate. Raisins. Well, again, the fruitiness coming through of the grapes. You like that? That's why I'm up here. Okay, all right. Our last toast. Toast the person behind you. Behind you. Behind you. You guys really lost it there, you know? That's okay. It's the last wine, I understand. All right, give it a try. Cheers. Ba-boom. I love Amarone. I love the fruit. I love the fruit, especially in this wine, even though it's so young.
Yeah.
Now, if you wait, I do something called the 1 minute wine expert. I'm waiting 60 seconds to see what happens. The first taste of this wine, I'm getting all fruit, which is really, really nice. But now I'm past the 30-second mark, and now I'm getting all the tannins. And I get that raisination that you were talking about. And again, this is why it's a really, I don't want to destroy the food. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I'll end with the chef. Okay, Charlie? I'm going to end with the chef. You're the wine guy.
Texas barbecue. I mean, how are you going to go wrong with this? Texas barbecue, this incredible Amarone Valpolicella from another historical family, the Sartoris. They've been there for almost 115 years making wine. You will never go wrong with the one from Valpolicella that makes this texture. I mean, structure-wise, this wine finished velvety. And I'm just thinking about the flavor of that barbecue made at Mueller's. I don't know if you've ever been in Texas. Yeah. Oh my! I mean, when this guy was cooking back in the day, I used to go to Texas and I enjoy that cayenne pepper, and that sweetness of the Texas barbecue.
Really the smoke.
Yeah, and the smoke, which is the key thing over here for this kind. Remember, Amarone is very versatile, and if you go back to history, we used to drink Amarone and we used to eat horse meat. So that was the real pair back in the day for Amarone. So once again, Texas barbecue ribs and Amarone de la Valpolicella from Andrea Sartori. Sharon, are you agree with that? Of course, she's a...
Sharon's been downing them ever since this morning. I don't know. All right, our final one. Thank you for staying. I appreciate that. I know I went a little bit over. I apologize.
Okay, so Amarone, everyone knows the grape's dry, and we have a tremendous concentration of fruit in Amarone, so it loses about 30% of its weight. And when they press the grapes, you get this, very fruit-forward wine. And I think oftentimes people try to pair Amarone with food, and for me, it's a very difficult pairing. So what do I say? I say, eat and drink everything else that I served. And then when I serve the Amarone, push your chair back, sit back, enjoy the raisins, the plum, the dry fruits, and kind of just relax and kind of take back the evening, enjoy the evening. If I drink Amarone, it's for meditation. It's for the end of the evening, and it's kind of ends the evening, and it's a hard pairing with food. So I kind of push back. I say thank you to all of you, to Kevin.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the group that we've had. Richard, Charlie, thank you.
By the way, if you have a cigar too, you can do that too.
And I'm the only wine guy that doesn't spit. I drink all the wine in my glass.